I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle.
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm a nerd.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
I have never seen anything like this.
The worst part has been watching the actual watching of the movie.
Some of these were pretty terrible.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Box Office Battles with Greg and Eric. We are in season 2, and we are at episode 6. We have a whole brand new category for you tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be doing movie bands. So this is the thing for the next category, movie bands, but not biopics, not movies that are about bands, movies where their band is not really real.
They can't be real.
They can't be real. They could become real later because we have a few that did become real bands.
Needed to cash in on that sweet touring goodwill.
The touring goodwill. And that's actually what they did. So it's a great category. I think, so what we're doing tonight, we're actually going to have 3 movies go head to head to try to get in the tournament. So that, watching these 3, and we'll get into who they are in a minute, I'm like, this is going to be a fun category. I actually kind of enjoy these type of movies.
I still don't know which of these I'm going to pick, but I guess you're right. We couldn't have an 11 movie bracket. It gets real weird. It would have been double elimination, and then you have to watch every movie twice. I mean, I guess you don't have to watch it twice, but anyway, here we are, Greg, the only show in America, in the world, really, with the courage to put 2 box offices up against each other and have them battle it out.
Well, before we get going, we want to say, first of all, hi to everybody that's joining the live stream, or if you're watching this later, hi to everybody who has been streaming the podcast on the different podcast providers, whether that's, Apple Podcasts, which we get a lot of listeners on there, Amazon, as well as what are some other, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we are on there as well. So we just want to thank all the listeners and all the viewers, whether you're watching us live on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook Live. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you tuning in. One of our regular is out there, Mike Leblanovitz, and I want to say hi. Mike asked a question one of the last episodes, and I didn't get around to answering it. I got sidetracked, and I did want to address that before we get too much into it. So when we were on Jarrett Goes to the Movies, and before we started doing our own thing, one of the things I did when I came on and did 5 questions as a guest and everything was I like to dress up and represent the movie, that whatever movie we were doing for that episode. So Mike thought it would be interesting if I continued that tradition on this podcast. And I got to admit, it's a nice little gimmick. It's something that I would enjoy doing, I'm sure. The reason I haven't done it yet is because building the podcast and running it, rather when Sean was doing all that for you guys, is a lot different than just being able to go out and get a costume and show up on 5 questions and watch the movie. So
was that the show that had 6 questions, but the high score was 7?
Yeah, so yeah, it was there. The questions just kept growing. So yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I will consider this though. If we make it to a season 3, if things start to grow and the next year we do a season 3, I will consider to start doing that, because I am leaving my job eventually, and I will have more time to devote to other interests. And
what you've always dreamed of is retiring so that you could dress up in more costumes.
Exactly. That doesn't everyone.
You were in the Air Force, right? So you already had like that costume with the dress blues and I
had mess dress. I had BDUs, battle dress uniform.
The hat that looks like the burger serving hat.
Yeah, ice cream man type thing. And then we had the bus driver hat for a while. They got rid of that. That's what the one that's the big wide brim with the flat top.
Yeah.
But I had and then they changed it to ABUs. What was ABUs? I can't remember what the A stood for.
It's albuterol.
dressy. I don't know. It was the beige one that we wore downrange and stuff like that. And then it became like an everyday thing, and we stopped wearing blues as much. It was an interesting time.
And then there's the green like jumpsuit with the
Yes.
like a onesie.
Yes, those are for flight crew. So yeah, that's a flight crew uniform. My son, who has been flight crew his entire career, that's what he wears. I was never flight crew, so I did not get to wear one of those.
Bummer, dude. Well, you can still wear a onesie, an adult onesie.
Yeah, those look really comfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind.
Man, I had an uncle. He would only come visit. Well, a great uncle, I guess. He would come visit from. They lived in San Diego, I believe. That is Spanish for whale's vagina.
I knew that. All right. So what did he?
Some of the most beautiful people come from San Diego. My uncle Jack was not one of them, but he was retired, and he always wore like one of those like polyester nylon blend onesie like travel suits, and it had like a built-in belt that you like snap together in the front, and he always had a hat with like the braided rope on the top and a cigar. I mean, he looked like a stereotypical like 80s like old guy from movies. Okay. But Uncle Jack, if you said, "Hey Jack, how you doing?" he'd say, "None of your goddamn business." And it didn't matter if you were at church and asked him that, or in the supermarket, or whatever. None of your damn business. All right. Well, good to see you, Jack. Anyway.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. He's dead.
That's good. That's good to know.
That's good.
No, I'm just saying it's good to know that he brought some joy into your life before he went to the great beyond.
Such a shithead.
All right. Well, I tell you what, like I said, thank you for joining us, whether it's on the live stream. If you could, make sure that you always drop a comment. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on all the platforms so that we can continue bringing this fine entertainment to you.
Listen to us on Zenitra or Quibbly, Arius.
Where did you come up with that?
It's just like 150 made-up tech company names.
Okay. Like, that's pretty creative.
On Dashloop or Flowaro.
Now, people are going to be looking those up.
Look for us on Loopstep or Inspirino.
Like Esperanto.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, let's get into. Well, first of all, I did want to say one thing. We were going to do this. What were we going to do this 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got sidetracked. There's a lot going on in our lives, and we no need to get into details. We apologize. We figured since it was a new category, we could, kind of push it down the road a little bit to get into it.
Yeah,
we just had a lot going on.
Kick the can down the road. Life has a way of doing that to you. So we're fine. Yeah, it's not like we stopped right in the middle of one and left people on a cliffhanger. Although we ought to look into that, like end season 2 at the finale, and then just start season 3 with the final 4.
Oh, I was thinking like one of us would be. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking one of us would be near death at the end of season 2. Like somebody bursts in with a gun to our head, and then we just end it.
It feels to me like I'm way closer to that than you are. So
really,
I volunteer as tribute.
You are in Texas, so
yeah, that's true.
I'm in Ohio, and I'm a Michigan fan, as evidenced by my Red Wing jersey. But I'm a Michigan fan. Go Blue! And that's not a very popular thing to be in Ohio. That could happen to me.
There was this commercial a while ago, and it was a guy in a Michigan sweatshirt and a girl in an Ohio State sweatshirt, and they're sitting on the couch and just like dirty making out. And they and it's just 30 seconds of that. And then at the bottom scrolls text that says, "Without college football, this isn't gross."
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, so like I said, we thank you for joining us. But again, if you have any questions about the show, and if you got any suggestions, or if you want to vote, you have to follow us on Facebook to vote in the polls. And you have to email us at boxofficebattles@gmail.com with all your suggestions. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the movies that we are going to be discussing in this new category, the movie bands that rock. And then we're going to discuss the 3 movies that are trying to get a spot into this bracket. So let's take a look at these, shall we? The number 7 seed is Eddie and the Cruisers. This was made in the 80s, but it was about a 60s band. It's pretty cool if you like it. You might like it. I don't know. Could be a little dated for Eric. We'll see when we get into it. At number 6, we have That Thing You Do, which is a very popular movie from, this was like mid to late 90s, wasn't it?
It feels like that's true, but
I'm thinking it was. It might have been later.
My therapist says that my feelings are important, so that's good.
But it has that kind of feel to it. But again, another 50s type biopic, but of a fake band. At number 5, we have another 50s-esque. This is kind of loosely based on the Temptations. It's called The 5 Heartbeats with Robert Townsend and Leon. It's another good film. It's funny we got this trend of these 50s type movies. At number 4, this is actually one of my personal favorites. I'm looking forward to watching this for the 100th time. This is the Irish soul band that went on to moderate success in the early 90s. And this is The Commitments. Good film. That's at number 4, the number 4 seed. The number 3 seed is a Saturday Night Live classic. If you have not seen this, I personally have like the double extended version, which has got so much more stuff in it. It's great.
Yeah, it's twice as long as the original.
It pretty much, it is very long, but it's a lot of fun. So it's one of those that they put everything that they cut out back in. All the music scenes are extended. It's crazy. Good stuff. John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers, our number 3 seed. The number 2 seed is another great film. This is Almost Famous. Kate Hudson, iconic as the Band-Aid, don't call her a groupie, Penny Lane, who follows the band Stillwater around as they try to make it big in the rock biz. Got great performances in this. Patrick Fugit, Philip Seymour Hoffman is fantastic in this film. It's a great film to watch. I'm looking forward to watching that again. That's the number 2 seed. And number 1 seed is probably one of the more iconic fake band movies ever made, the rockumentary classic from the early 80s. This is Spinal Tap. Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, Rob Reiner. It's a comedy classic. It's considered one of the most more iconic of the fake band films. So that's our number 1 seed. And this is kind of what the bracket looks like. We're looking for one more to come in there. And what will this one be? We're going to determine that tonight. So this is where the bracket looks. Where that question mark is where the winner of tonight's battle will go. Now, before we reveal the 3 or talk about the 3, I did want to say real quick, I went to see This is Spinal Tap 2. The End Continues.
Spinal Pap, I thought it was.
Was it Spinal Tap? Ooh, that sounds uncomfortable.
How was it?
Isn't there a more convenient way to get to it?
You would imagine so. I wouldn't know, but how is Spinal Tap 2? Is it like a retread? Do you think it has enough to stand on its own for someone who hasn't seen original Spinal Tap?
If you have not seen original Spinal Tap, I don't think you would like this movie at all. I'm not going to lie. It is one of these things where I went and saw it in IMAX because they had this big production thing for the Wednesday night special screening, and I was really excited to see it. And I was expecting it to be a little bit more like the original, with like they go back out on tour again. But most of the film takes place, and probably budget reasons or whatever, but it takes place in a studio, and it's a lot of guest stars showing up, them trying to reform the band. They don't play live in front of an audience until like the last 20 minutes. Most of the songs that are done in a studio. And part of me thought, well, there's an awful lot of stuff in the studio. I wonder if they just decided, hey, we'll go cheap and just do all the comedy bits in this room. There's some other scenes that take place outside of it, but I would say 60% of the film take place in this studio. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It was just surprising. And I thought that the humor was good, but not like bust a gut good. It was I'm not going to lie. I sat there on several occasions and did one of these. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's funny.
Yeah, forcing air through your nose, like.
Yeah. Now, I will say this: the audience that was at clearly Spinal Tap fans. There were people that dressed up and everything like that. Uproarious laughter from the Spinal Tap fans, more than I thought it deserved. And I love the original film, but I did enjoy it quite a lot, and I would watch it again. So I just want to preface by saying, if you're going to go see it, and if you have plans to watch it, just have a little bit lower, limit your expectations, and understand what they did was the first one was about the excesses of rock and roll, and it does it masterfully. It talks, and we'll get more when we do the original film, but it really focuses on these guys in this band that are just around the bend, and no one can touch them. They're put up on a pedestal and they act like morons. This one is more about rock bands that age, and should they really still be doing it? And that I thought was a nice theme, was like the whole, but it was a constant stream of I'm too old for this jokes.
Gotcha.
And so that does take place in the film. So anyway, I enjoyed it. Good film, but maybe like a 3 out of 5 stars. So I'd say so. There's your quick review of This Is Spinal Tap 2.
You are about a point below what Google says. They're giving it about a 4.3. Although
5, really?
7 on IMDb, 66 on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, 3, 4. All right, well.
Okay, I'll go 3.5. I think it's a very pleasant film, but it doesn't hold a candle to the original, and maybe that's the problem. If you compare it to the original, it'll never stand up to it. So
I think that's fair.
All right, so let's get into these 3 movies that we're dealing with tonight. The 3 that are trying to get in. We've had the votes up on the poll for a few weeks now on the Facebook page, both our personal one and the Jared Goes to the Movies page. But these are the 3 that we're going to be covering tonight. And we're going to run through these as quickly as we can. We don't want to take all night to discuss these, but these are 3 good movies. I think they were 3 good movies. And one of these is going to get into the bracket. And we probably won't have to discuss it again. Discuss it enough tonight. We can rehash it a little bit. But these are the 3 tonight. CB4 with the Chris Rock is a take on the extreme gangster rap of the early 90s and his spoof on it. Rockstar, which is loosely based on a true story of a 80s rock band that hires a nowhere man as a lead singer, and a Irish film called Sing Street about a boy who starts a band just to get a girl, and they turn out to have the time of their lives in it. And all 3 films I really enjoyed. I really did. I think it's rare that we get one where I'm like, I put on one and then the next and next. I really enjoyed all 3. So this will be a very entertaining discussion, I think, as far as trying to find out who the winner is going to be.
Well, which one of these are we starting with?
We are going to start with the Chris Rock 1993 CB4, which is an interesting film. And it's funny because when the film starts, so this is I was in my massive part of my youth in the early 90s. In 92, 93, I think I was 22 years old.
Oh my God.
I know. So the music in this, the gangster rap that had come out, was very popular at the time. I listened to it. I remember getting Eazy-E, his first solo cassette that came out, and it just blew people away, and it was so offensive for that time. And a lot of us listened to NWA, and I was a fan of the Ghetto Boys in Houston.
Oh yeah.
And they were, and of course we go back to 2 Live Crew that were, this stuff was so over the top offensive.
Yeah.
But a lot of us listened to it because it was so crazy that no lyrics like that was ever put out on any type of album.
Well, this time frame was almost like Reefer Madness for my household because my parents were so incredibly religious and
Oh,
conservative.
yeah.
And so it wasn't just the parental advisory stickers and the, you shouldn't listen to this. I mean, they really bought into the, I think it was Luther Campbell, who got arrested for obscenity.
And in the USA.
And like, and my parents fully supporting that as, like, and so it was a bit kind of beyond just the general, like, I don't want my kids listening to music where they say things like this.
Yeah.
But guess what, Greg? It only made me want it even harder. And I mean, so I remember being in our mall, Collin Creek Mall in Plano, Texas, the whitest suburb that ever suburbed. And I remember handing my brother like, $8 and telling him to go into the Camelot Music, buy the NWA Straight Outta Compton tape, get it. They sold them and they were in these long, like, plastic things,
What was the point of that? I guess it was to keep you from stealing it. From putting it in your pocket. Yeah. So,
and I was like, I'm going to go tell mom and dad that I want to go look at basketball shoes. I want you to go in there while I'm doing that, buy the tape, take it out of the thing, put it in your pocket, and we'll go home and listen to it. And God damn it, if he didn't do that. And it was like, it was pretty awesome. So thanks, Ryan. Thanks for doing that.
Good times. Yeah. I mean, I was already like, when NWA, my first one was 2 Live Crew. I had a friend that brought over the one with, "Hey, we want some pussy," on it. And man, we had to play that at a very low volume in my basement bedroom that I had to get away with it. But after I got out high school and everything, that's when it kind of really hit. The only one I ever got really in trouble for was I had an Eddie Murphy album that my mom nearly smashed because she heard it from the basement.
Yeah.
And came down there and freaked out. But I mean, that's one of the things you do, as a teenager. You're looking for something shocking. But I will say this: the music was great. The lyrics, regardless of the content, were, subject matter that we were all kind of like. It was that rebellious movement of that time, and it even applied to white youth as well that were looking to rebel from something. Granted, for white kids, it didn't last as long as it did for black youth culture. But I remember a time where that's all I went to see. I went to see the movie Colors in theaters and New Jack City.
Oh yeah.
And all of those films, you had that whole aura for like a early part of the 90s. And what this movie does is Chris Rock, in a very early part of his career, he was on Saturday Night Live. He was just kind of getting started with his stand-up and everything. And he comes out to do this movie where he does a take on that culture. And I thought it was a very irreverent take. I will say this, one negative comment before we get really into it, is being a lover of Spinal Tap. The movie starts off with Chris Elliott as this almost like Marty DeBurgi from Spinal Tap, where he's doing this documentary about the band. And it's so funny. Like the early part where he's standing out there and his cameraman gets punched.
They drag the camera away.
And they're taking the camera. It's a bunch of moments, but it seemed like the movie was going that direction. And then it went, never mind. We're going to do something. Now we're going to just tell a story. And it was disappointing for me because I was like, this is going to be like Spinal Tap. I'm really going to enjoy this. And then it said, okay, we're going to tell them a story now.
They invoke it a couple of times later, one in the music video, and that's a scene. And I don't know, maybe if I was just reading into it, but I just thought it was really funny. Them, doing the whole, straight out of Low Cash, crazy motherfucker, and if Straight Outta Compton, and the worst of that, and then they just yell cut. And then the guys just all kind of stop and put their Uzis down and just walk off the set over to the craft services, and it's just funny, like the dichotomy between, because that was the whole thing. Like you had to have some credibility.
Yeah.
Or at least like these guys, some presumed credibility, a story that you made up about yourself. And I mean, this came out in 93, so it's not like it happened so far in the future that you're kind of looking back and giving an irreverent take on it. And it does make me wonder, Chris Rock couldn't have made. I mean, I guess I could see it either way. Either the guys are willing to not take themselves seriously, and so they can see the humor in it, or I could see the opposite of that, where you're trying so hard to be hard that, Chris Rock couldn't have made any friends putting a movie out like this at the time. I don't know. I feel like it could go either way.
I thought it was interesting because I think a lot of the community had fun with this movie. I think even I would like to know what NWA thought of it, because I thought Eazy-E's in it
he is in it, yeah.
Ice-T is in it for a cameo. And he talks I love what he talks about. These guys are so much harder than I am. I'm afraid of these guys.
Yeah.
But the cameos in the beginning, again, that beginning was so good. You have Shaquille O'Neal in there. You have the very young Shaquille O'Neal, and talking about this band. But then I think that I'm thinking the movie started off that way, maybe that direction, and then they decided to do a rewrite and went, okay, now we're just going to tell the story and show how they rose to prominence. So you get that biopic feel. And it turns out all three members of CB4, which is based on the name Cell Block 4, they've stolen everything from real thugs and are just pretending to be these inmates, and they base it off of the one leader of this gang, Gusto, which is incredibly played by Charlie Murphy. He is so funny in the film.
Yep.
And they steal his name. He's outrageously good. I love Charlie Murphy in it. But yeah, it's one of those things where I it does shift in tone a little bit, and I still enjoy it. But I kind of missed that that aspect of, the documentary feel.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I guess you had somewhat of a blueprint for doing something like that with Spinal Tap already. How informed Chris Rock would have been of that movie, although Christopher Guest worked on Saturday Night Live too. So I don't know. There may have been some overlap. Someone may have mentioned it to him as he, started, considering the movie. But I still think it even without that element, which is really just because they started with that Chris Elliott bit, that you expect it to kind of weave its way through the movie, and it doesn't. But even outside of not having that, this one was fucking funny.
It's got a lot of good moments.
And I was okay. I mean, listen, Otis changing his name to Stab Master Arson is so fucking brilliant. It reminds me of, like, if me and my brother at 11 and 9 wanted to think of, like, the baddest ass rap name you could think of. Stab Master Arson.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So fucking great. Yeah, it's funny because the part that so you didn't like, or at least were disappointed by, the lack of the, kind of documentary feel through it. The part I was disappointed with, and I'm never disappointed to see Phil Hartman show up in things.
Right.
But that little subplot was kind of dumb. And they could have used all of that energy on more of they have stolen Gusto's identity and his credibility, created a rap group. He gets out of jail, and that's the main conflict here. That's the part you're looking forward to. And, this stuff with the over eager politician, which was going on at I guess in a historical sense, that was really going on. The Tipper Gores and the
for sure.
So I guess you have to include something like that. The nerdy, straight-laced white guy, politician, up against the, face down, ass up. That's the way we like to fuck crew.
But you know what? but here's the thing: you do make a great point, but it is like pick a lane. Who is your antagonist?
Yeah,
and I think they focus in on both too much. And here's one gripe I had because I looked at it again because I remember when the movie ended, I went, "What the hell happened to Phil Hartman and his kid?" The last we see of him is when he bans CB4 from being in their house, and the kid goes to his room and he's got tons and tons of shit. And then there's a scene where there's the bus and the kid chases after it, but we never see the typical politician gets caught, with the hooker.
yeah.
It's like they couldn't decide who was the real bad guy. So if you did the Phil Hartman thing, you could have just made that a minor subplot, like the part where he shows up. I would, if I was editing this film, I would have cut everything out except for when he shows up at the arena to tell him what they can and can't say, because that's a very funny scene.
Yeah.
When he's like, you cannot say bitch unless you're referring to a female dog. You cannot say hoe.
Only when she's in heat.
Only when she's in heat. Yeah, I forgot about that part. But yeah, you cannot say hoe unless you're referring to a garden tool. It is a very funny scene. And that happened to a lot of performers throughout history. It happened to Jim Morrison. It's happened to Elvis. It's a very funny scene. It happened to NWA, where they had police show up and said, this is what you're going to do. So they were kind of art, imitating life, but they focused too much else on Phil Hartman with no payoff. So I think you're right. I think that the Charlie Murphy, it comes and goes in the plot where he's trying to kill them for taking his name, but it kind of doesn't really stay with it too as much as it should have. But I did, and I think that that's the one that they should have stuck with, because I think it is funny that they steal his identity, they steal everything from him, and then they go out, because this is a still of when they're trying to make it a difference. And they do. The opening scene reminded me a lot of Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stop.
It's like, we tried this thing where the Bag Boys.
It just didn't work.
It was so funny, and that they had the Back to Egypt, bullshit, and they were all dressed in traditional African garb, and
it's good.
And they're riding in the car, and they all are dressed up like the Fat Boys.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Because the Fat Boys had this movie that my brother and I liked called Disorderlies.
I remember
back in the day, and then that scene's funny because they're rapping along, and then the tape gets fucked up. And
that one they're doing that one. That one's at Run DMC.
Oh yeah. Run DMC. You're right.
But what's interesting about that scene, I got it here up on the still. What's great about that scene is it's definitely without shame ripping off Wayne's World, because they're doing the exact same thing, and it's like Chris Rock going, I can do this too, and he puts in the cassette just like Wayne's World, and they're all doing their parts, and then it gets into it a little bit more, and then the cassette gets eaten,
gets sped up, and
that's just they're trying to keep up with it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think for you and I, the payoff of this movie is because we grew up, and I mean, our experiences with it are different. When in
Uh-oh. Your mic got disconnected. Now unmute. Yeah, unmute from the thing. Yeah. Can you do it?
Hello?
There you go. I was like, you're fooling around with wires. I'm like, something not good gonna come from that.
I plugged in my power cord, and then all of a sudden, like, my VPN popped up and mic turned off and shit. But when Straight Outta Compton came out, I was listening to Rich Mullins sing "Our God is an Awesome God" at my house. Very, very limited exposure to anything outside of either really traditional country music, or, I mean, the church I grew up in, you couldn't use instruments in worship. And so a lot of the music we listened to also didn't have instruments. It was just a cappella, like gospel quartets. And I still like that style of music. But going from that background to hearing Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction and then straight into gangster rap, and man, I was fucking there for it. So fucking hard. Memorizing, I mean, Naughty by Nature and NWA and uh it was Rodney O and Joe Cooley. Like, I would listen to all of it and just seek it out. So I thought it was a great send up. It has its flaws, but it's an R-rated comedy. Like, it's gonna have those artistic flaws as far as like cinema is concerned. But if you're not trying to make that movie, I think they made the movie they were trying to make really well.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of set pieces in it that are really funny. I like the rapper's retirement home sequence. It was like this. But that if I was going to say that where there's a little bit of a flaw is that it can't decide if it wants to be just a straight comedy, a rapumentary, or a documentary, a fake documentary, or does it want to be this I'm going to get you sucker, airplane type
top secret. Yeah.
You keep switching the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And so while those scenes are funny, I particularly loved when he had the, I would think it's 100-ounce bottle of malt liquor, a gigantic bottle of malt liquor on his table. And when, if you've noticed it, when he's doing all the substances, and then he goes to smoke crack, and he's doing it exactly like he did in New Jack City. And he's got the same shirt. Those set pieces are great. But it's like, okay, is that the tone of the movie that you want to go for? Because then there's other parts that are just like straight up like House Party with Kid and Play, or just something that's like a rap comedy, but it's played very straight. And it was very interesting. Like, it kept switching the tone on me. So I'm wondering if there was just a lot of ideas or many different versions of the script and they kind of just took the best pieces of script.
Yeah, well, Chris Rock coming from a background in stand-up and sketch comedy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these movies fall of that. He's a young guy at this time. He's one of the 3 writers of the movie. And I just think maybe he was a little too eager and anxious to kind of get all those ideas out into the world. Yeah. I mean, what are the odds that you get to make another movie? And Chris Rock didn't for, a while. And so I think it's easy when you're that young and that, excitable to just want to get it all out there. But like you said, it just lends itself to this uneven narrative, and what are we trying to do here?
Yeah.
Still funny.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know where this one sits. 6.2 on IMDb.
Yeah, I know. Where does it sit with the black critics? I mean, come on, we can't count white people critics. I'm just saying,
Greg, that is a very offensive thing for you to say.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like I can see Siskel and Ebert watching this movie and not totally getting it, is where I'm coming from. It is when we were young and this movie's out, we get this movie, we got it, and people of the culture would get this movie. That's who it's made for. And I think that it's one of those that because of that, people who don't like that music or don't remember that time, because I will say this, it's a great time capsule and to look into that early 90s culture, rap culture, because it was a brief time, but it was a very unique snapshot, because eventually they ground down NWA. They kind of fragmented off. Ice Cube was still out there and a few of the others. And they were still doing hard lyrics, but it kind of fell into the mainstream and it wasn't as shocking anymore as it was when it first came out. So I think this movie captures it when it was really like rebellious. It's kind of like when Elvis first started in the scene, and everything was shocking and in an uproar, to where later he kind of became tame. And I think that kind of happened to these guys toward the late 90s.
Siskel and Ebert did review CB4, but it's only a video. I can't read it to you.
I'm sure they hated it. I just got a feeling they didn't like it. But
I'm sure that I don't know. They had, listen, they're both great and like Pulitzer Prize winning, writers too. And so I've read reviews of theirs that are just brilliant. Ebert specifically. Yeah. But one thing that they had this tendency of doing is just wanting the movie to be something that they already had in mind.
Yeah.
And comparing the movie to that, which is incredibly unfair as a critic, as opposed to just taking the art and critiquing it. So I have no doubt, that they probably didn't like it and then did that whole fucking thing. But
and the thing is, I grew up watching them too because I was a movie nerd, and I like to see clips of the movies, but I didn't necessarily agree with them, even as a youth and growing up, because I think one thing they forgot, there are great artistic movies that you can rave about and review, but then there are movies that are just fun, and if they're fun, as a critic, you need to relax. You need to chill the fuck out and enjoy the movie for what it is. This is one of those movies. This is one of those movies where the flaws, like I said, I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10 because it does have some missteps. But overall, again, I watched it like on a Saturday afternoon and I had a blast. Just the tone and everything is very easy to watch because it's slapsticky and it's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So
yeah, it reminded me of Friday meets gangster rap, and there was just there was enough of it to keep me entertained the whole time. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we got two more to discuss, and this was the end of the film. Very funny scene. If you haven't seen CB4, check it out. I know that it's on a lot of streaming services, and I think it's on Amazon Prime for free, but if you subscribe to that service. But we're going to move into the next one of the three to determine who will face This Is Spinal Tap in the first round of box office battles when we do that. And the next movie is Mark Wahlberg in Rockstar with Jennifer Aniston and a lot of other people from 2001. The semi-true story of, and I don't know if you looked into this. Had you seen this at all?
I had seen this one. I don't know if we must have watched it on Jarrett Goes to the Movies.
Okay. It would make sense.
The only explanation, I mean, I meant to go back and look through the archives, which really just means text Sean to see if we ever did this movie.
Sean would remember.
But I did, like, when you said it, I didn't remember that I had seen it. But once it started, I did remember that I'd seen it. And I remember liking it at the time. I liked it this time. But man, is it jam-packed full of cameos and people who are in these bands that are in other bands. Yeah. Like, I think one of the guys from like the Verve Pipe is the bassist, and some guy, it was really interesting.
Guy from Third Eye Blind is the guy that takes over for Mark Wahlberg as the singer of his tribute band.
Oh, yeah.
The lead singer, Third Eye Blind. And Zakk Wylde is the lead guitarist in the
Steel Dragon.
Steel Dragon, yeah, and the Jethro Tull. For those that don't know, and you don't really have to know, but this is loosely based on Judas Priest when they decided that Rob Halford, who was the lead singer of Judas Priest, and he is a homosexual. He's an out homosexual. In the history, he wasn't outed from the band because he was a homosexual. He was outed from the band because he was screwing around. He was screwing around too much, and not with other men. He was screwing around with drugs. He was screwing around, not showing up for rehearsals. He was kind of that leader of the band. He was wanting to do side projects, and he had mentioned that he was going to do a side project, and the band went, well, if you go off and do that, if you're going to fuck off and do that, we're going to get somebody else. He didn't think that they were serious.
Found out.
Yeah. And so they actually went out and hired a lead singer that was in a tribute band, actually. And that's kind of how this story.
Fucking Journey did this with like some little Filipino dude.
Yeah, they did.
He was like this tall.
He was. They had to put a big magnifying glass
right in front of him. But it couldn't be a sunny day, you know, or whatever. What's the name of the band that he's trying to get in, or Mark Wahlberg's getting into?
It is Steel Dragon.
Yeah, dragging these nuts in your face.
Oh my god, dude! Why?
I don't really have a good answer for that, Greg, and I'm really sorry.
You don't have a good answer for that? What do you mean?
For why I just continue to find that funny at almost 50 years old.
Okay.
But I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for it. Oh, yeah. So Brian Vander Ark is from the Verve Pipe. Are they the ones that did Bittersweet Symphony and lost all their money? Or was that the Verve? Is that the Freshman?
How that they mess me up. That's their fault for being too closely named to another band. I always get the Verve and the Verve Pipe mixed up.
Because one is the Freshman.
Yes.
And the other one is Bittersweet Symphony.
Yes.
But we don't know which is which.
I don't know like the songs that much to know. I believe Freshman is Verve Pipe. I have a 50-50 shot. You have Google, so
I'm not going to look it up. We're just going to leave you. We're going to leave you fucking dangling. Timothy Oliphant had been on screen for over 5 minutes before I realized who he was.
Oh, no way.
Here. Yeah.
I love Timothy Oliphant.
And he's great in everything he's ever been in, and he was good in this.
Yeah.
But
he's
he's
amazing.
just so young, and like I just didn't recognize him.
Oh, he's fantastic. I love Timothy Oliphant. And just about anything he does. He's great, but yeah, he's I think he's in this shot. There,
he's playing
on
the guitar
the far left. Yeah, if you see them, yeah, that's Timothy Oliphant. He's
playing a Gibson Explorer. There, it looks like.
Very nice.
Jason Bonham is in this.
Yeah,
Jason Bonham's kid.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot, but it's based on, like I said, Judas Priest. They hired a guy named Tim Ripper Owens, who he was in a tribute band called British Steel, hence the name Steel Dragon, where they kind of came up with that. But Tim Owens, if you look into him, and he's got an amazing voice. And if you look at that era of Judas Priest, there were people that kind of like in the film that were never going to accept Owens as the new lead singer. I mean, Rob Halford's Rob Halford, for crying out loud. He is the voice of Judas Priest. But Owens, man, he could sing similar to the character Chris Cole does in Rockstar, in Steel Dragon. He has a beautiful voice. And I don't think it's really Mark Wahlberg.
It's not. It's I read who that was too. Who the fuck?
I would love to, Mark Wahlberg, did have a music career. We can't forget that.
Jeff Pilson. No, he's from Dawkins, but he wasn't the voice. Fuck, dude. There's so much. The singing voice of Wahlberg's character was provided by Steelheart frontman Miljenko.
Yeah, Steelheart.
Matichevich.
Didn't Steelheart do Love Is... No, that's Hanoi Rocks. What did Steelheart do? Steelheart did a really good song, a really good 80s.
Steelheart.
Yeah, they did a really good song in the 80s.
She's Gone.
I'll Never Let You Go was a huge one.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Can't Stop Me Loving You.
That's the one I can't do it, but it's I'll Never Let You Go.
What do you mean you can't do it? You got a voice like a fucking angel, dude.
But yeah, no, that's Steelheart's amazing. Now that I can hear it now. I am an 80s hair metal band fan at heart because that was my teenage years, was MTV and all that stuff. So I definitely love that kind of music. Steelheart's a very underrated 80s metal band. So that's kind of cool knowing that he was the voice of Chris Cole, of Mark Wahlberg. I'm surprised they just didn't let Mark rap because, you know, like you said, he did have his own music career. He was an accomplished musician before he became an actor. So
and I also think he
people forget that
almost beat a guy to death when he was younger too. Yeah, people kind of
was wasn't his brother did that?
Oh, I don't know.
Donnie Wahlberg was in New Kids and nearly beat somebody. Then he set fire to that hotel lobby and everything like that. Donnie Wahlberg. Donnie was unhinged, man. He was a wild card.
Donnie. The Bobby Beers character is voiced by Jeff Scott Soto, whose claim to fame is that he was the vocalist on Yngwie Malmsteen's first 2 albums. And listen, I'm not one to disparage anybody's career. You know, a 1-hit wonder is better than a 0-hit wonder.
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus fucking Christ. You know, you spend all of your life dedicated to perfecting your craft. And then fucking Yngwie Malmsteen calls and is like, hey, why don't you come to the studio? I'll be here. I'll be an insufferable fucking prick the whole time, and you can sing all my songs. Sound good, homie? And poor Jeff Scott Soto, who's got nothing else going on, is like, yeah, man, I guess I'll sing them. And he had to do that twice, Greg.
That sucks.
Fuck. God really does suck.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Yeah, so this one follows a very stereotypical be careful what you wish for motif, and it follows a never meet your heroes motif.
Yep.
Fish out of water, which we would see, and I mean it's one of the oldest tropes or plot devices, you know, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think that overall it's a really solid film. It, again, if you look at it from what was this movie trying to do, it's just trying to show that we all dream of being, well, we don't all, but you know, we all dream of being something big. And what happens if you get that? You know, I think about it, Greg, and there's really no danger of this happening, but I do play guitar and I enjoy singing and playing guitar. And I think, and for most of my 20s, I was doing music full time, and taking it pretty seriously, as seriously as I could. And I just get the sense that today at 48 years old, if somebody came across like me playing my songs and they were like, dude, we love it. You've got to come to Nashville. You've got to record an album. We're going to send you out on tour with Chris Stapleton. I think I'd be like, man, I don't want to fucking do that. I've got to get out of my house, first of all. I gotta wear pants that button. You know, like, just that is a young man's game. I wouldn't have the energy for it. And but like we all aspire to those things and dream of those things. There was definitely a time in my life where, you know, that would have been awesome. And the excesses and downfall of rock stars is as old as, it's not just rock stars. Jazz stars were getting hooked on heroin, you know, opera stars, you know, all the way back. The excesses of being put on a pedestal like that and no one ever telling you no, and having everything at your disposal at an age where your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed and you can't even make good decisions if you try to,
right?
And let alone under this type of situation. I thought it did a really good job of just showing, you know, that be careful what you wish for thing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's one of those things where in these type of movies, like when we do biopics, let's look at example for like any musical biopics about the real musician, like I Walk the Line, Johnny Cash, Ray, any of them. There always comes down to what derails their career. It's usually a trope, unfortunately, but it's drugs and alcohol. Women always derail the career, and it creates that moment where you're in the course of the plot where everything's going good, and then everything falls apart, and then you have the redemption arc at the end. And this kind of does the same thing. What I do enjoy, spoiler alert, is how he walks away from it rather than redemption. He gets back on stage and goes, "Yeah, I'm still here." That's a different take on it, but overall, it had a lot of the same type of tropes that these other biopics do. And I think that, like you said, it is a good film. It has very interesting performances, and it captures, I think, the essence of that 80s hair band time very well. I think it does that as far as a really good snapshot. Even though it came out in 2001, a lot of people that were involved in those hair bands were still around and took part in consulting. They said a bunch of them were on the set. Nikki Sixx was on the set. Alice Cooper was on the set. So it was one of those things. I enjoyed, though, one of the things that you said that I really enjoyed was that fantasy. I think that's why a lot of people do tap into a movie like this. Is you're like, they got this scene where they go to the house and they're looking at the artifacts and they're just amazed, and then they get to be a part of it because Jennifer Aniston, his girlfriend, later becomes, it was his manager, and then becomes heavily involved, and again gets pushed out to the side because of all the other craziness that goes on in the band. But when they're at this point, they're fans, and then you get the chance to be in the band, not only be the band, but to be the front man of the band that you're worshiping. I can only imagine what it was like for Tim Owens to be in this tribute band and to be, all of a sudden he recorded 2 studio albums with Priest, and a lot of people love his voice, and he did a very admirable job. He still performs with, I think, one of the ex-guitarists of Priest in a I think it's called KK Priest. I have to look it up. It's
KK what?
I know, right? KK's Priest. Yeah. The name of the band. He currently performs with KK's Priest, English heavy metal band by former Judas Priest guitarist KK Downing. That's where the KK comes from. So it's KK's Priest. So he still does Judas Priest tribute work with a member because he made friends with him. So you can only imagine what that's like. It's happened to other people. One of my favorite stories, I like Kiss. Not everybody does, but I'm a big Kiss fan. I enjoy the theatrics. I do. I think they're fun, and I'm all about the fun sometimes. It doesn't always have to be a serious thing. You can go to a concert and have fun.
We've always said that about you.
Thank you.
I'm all about the fun.
I am. But one of the things I love about the current lineup of Kiss before they called it quits was Ace Frehley was a freaking mess. And I just saw him live recently, and he's still a mess. He was barely coherent on stage. Still played well, but I mean, they walked him out on stage, and he's just done. But
what do you expect from a dude who rock and rolls all night and parties every day? Dude,
I thought it was part of every day.
And part of I mean, like from right before lunch to right after lunch.
I get it. Yeah. So he was a mess, and he couldn't do the job anymore. And it was like Gene Simmons' birthday party, and Paul Stanley had seen this other band that was doing tribute acts. They were in, and they were doing another band as well. And they had painted Paul Stanley's house. The guy was just trying to make it in the world. He was in multiple bands. One of them was a Kiss tribute band, and he knew all of Ace Frehley's guitar licks. So he hired the tribute band for Gene Simmons' birthday party as a goof. And Gene was like, "Who is that freaking guitarist? He knows all of Ace's stuff." And it was like, "Well, that's Tommy Thayer. Well, we need to bring him in." And so for a year or 2 years, he was Ace Frehley's like coach. He would reteach him all the songs because Ace was so far gone. And then one day, Ace doesn't get on a plane to get to a show. He's in New York and they're in California. And they're like, friggin' Gene went up to Tommy. He goes, "You're putting the spaceman stuff on right now. You're going out there." And Tommy Thayer put the gear on.
He said, "Meow."
No, that's Peter Chris. Yeah. Ace Frehley was a spaceman.
Meow.
So he puts on the gear, and then Ace Frehley walks in. He had taken another flight, and they were like, "It's too late. We're going with Tommy." And that was the first of their breakups. Tommy stayed in the group because eventually they did reunite with Ace when they did the Psycho Circus album, and but Tommy stayed with them. And then, of course, because they knew Ace was going to let him down again, and eventually Tommy Thayer became the lead guitarist of Kiss till they disbanded recently. So that's another story like this, like that Judas Priest thing, where you're a fan of the band, you're painting their house, and then you get to be the star. And I think that's why this movie it can capture people's excitement, because you kind of get that deal about, man, I love these guys. I would really like to be a part of this band. It would be great. But then, like you said, it's not all it's cracked up to be, because when you get into behind the facade of that glam, you get to what it's really like, and it can wear you down, and he gets caught up in it pretty heavily.
All right, I need to take 3 minutes with you to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said something earlier that really got me distracted. I didn't listen to anything you said afterward.
What did I say?
Why are you pronouncing it biopic? Biopic.
Oh,
why are you pronouncing it? That is gross.
Is it like myopic?
It's not it's biopic. It's a biopic. It's a bio picture, biographical picture.
Yes.
Will you please say it that way?
Biopic.
Don't say it that way. I don't like it. I'm on a Reddit thread right now, people arguing over it. This is from 4 years ago, and I'm about to comment.
Like somebody that says
like,
GIF or GIF.
Don't call it a GIF. Don't call it a comeback. Yeah.
I didn't mean to pronounce it that way. Sometimes I get and this is a thing just with me, with the way my brain works. Sometimes I will picture a word before I say it, and I will pronounce it exactly how it looks. So it's like myopic, biopic. I just see bio.
Vaginas. Vagina.
Jalapenos.
Yeah. Perfect. Hey, have you ever seen Little Kiss? Have you? I mean, like, for not like know of them.
I haven't seen them live, but I've seen the videos of them perform. I've never seen them. I would love to see them live. I would go see them live. Yeah, I would if they were nearby.
You're not like creeped out by the.
No. No. Why would I be creeped out by little people? That's horrible.
Well, remember when we did Tiptoes and you were so like, this is the worst movie ever, and it was specifically because of the midgets in it?
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was because Oldman had shoes taped on his knees. That was horrible.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but this movie is good.
Anyway.
It is. A lot of stuff happens. I mean, I thought Jennifer Aniston really, like her movie career is kind of interesting because she never really did that like big movie, but she was in a lot of name movies for a while. And I thought she was good in this. I thought she plays that role really well of
dude,
kind of like the good girl. But
she's good in all of this stuff, but especially when she's not taking herself seriously.
Yeah. Like
in Horrible Bosses.
Oh, yeah.
Or We're the Millers.
We're the Millers is fantastic.
Like, first of all, and maybe we've talked about this before, maybe we haven't, but the show Friends that she's most famous for is the dumbest fucking piece of shit show that ever.
TV show?
Yeah, she was in that show. I swear to fucking God, take any episode of Friends, put it on, take the laugh track out, and you will see that it's the most unfunny fucking piece of garbage ass show that ever fucking existed. None of those characters are likable and none of them are fucking funny. But anyway, that's what she's famous for. But I really like her work in yeah, like you said, some of this other stuff. Anyway,
for our
email us about Friends.
Yeah, who are other listeners who enjoy Friends? I just
Fuck you.
The ideas expressed by Eric do not necessarily reflect.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
You other host.
Yes, they do. I
do enjoy good Friends.
Limited liability partnership, and
I think it wears thin after about season 7.
1 second.
No. But this is not a debate on Friends. We can have that down the line. I did want to mention one thing, and I'm not going to go into detail. Maybe another episode we will. I did spend a year trying to break into the music industry. I did perform in certain clubs. I did do a demo tape, which I still have, and I'm not going to say anything more than that. The rest
Can you give us, did you have a stage name?
Maybe. I did.
Is it one word? Can we play charades until I get it?
No, because I don't want to derail the whole show with this. We can broach it on another episode.
That's
because
fine.
We have got several more episodes to do a fake band. So we'll tease a little bit more. And maybe, just maybe, I will produce some photos.
You don't want to give everybody the goods right up front.
Yeah,
Make them work for it.
I'm back for that. But yes, it was, like our friend Jarrett is Bowling for Soup, and he did it the hard way, ground up, did everything they could. We've seen the photographs and the images of the before they were famous type stuff. And it was a hard year. I was broke, and I was just really trying to make it. And it wasn't fun.
What year was this?
It was 89 and 90.
Oh my God. Was there spandex?
No, there was not spandex.
Oh man.
But I did wear an outfit.
Just all right. I don't want to ask too many questions about it.
I wanted to be our manager and wanted to put us in leather suits. I'll say that.
Leather suits.
I know. And he wanted us to pay for them. I'm like, I ain't got freaking money for a leather suit.
Yeah.
Right. We'll get into that down the road, but
can't wait.
But yeah, so back to Rockstar. It is got those moments in it where you feel for the character because he goes down the spiral, he loses the girl, he finds out he has absolutely no control over this band. He's really just being used because somebody else wanted control over the band and wanted to get the lead singer out. And this is where the difference is between the true story and the movie come into play, because Judas Priest says, well, the real Ripper Owens says this is nowhere close to the real story, but it's a movie and you have to do it. That's why they don't use the real names, but it's inspired by the Ripper Owens story. So yeah, the true story is not as exciting as what happens in this film. Basically, it's just basically they kicked Rob Halford to this curb. This other guy came in, did 2 albums. He said that there was really not a lot of drugs and alcohol involved. He just, after 2 years, nobody was, the records weren't selling. So they went back to Rob Halford. That's pretty much simple, but that's not how things work for Chris Cole. And he ends up, seeing the same face in the audience that like he was at the beginning, and he decides that he's going to give it all up and turn it over to somebody else.
I will say the one thing that this movie did do for me,
yes,
and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it kind of made me realize, and I finally made the decision to give up my dream of becoming the lead singer of the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh,
and
the Fergie part.
Yeah. And with the cartwheels and stuff.
And your humps.
Being my lady lumps. So, just a cautionary tale. I mean, look, the movie's formulaic enough to where, like, if I told Eller, hey, I'm about to watch a movie, or I just watched a movie about a guy who is a singer and he gets like moved into like the world's biggest band. Eller, what do you think this movie is going to be like? And he's 10. I think he could have basically mapped out 80% of this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't always think that's a bad thing. I think that there's some kind of universal comfort to things we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And story. I mean, tropes are tropes for a reason because they resonate. And I think stories like this will always resonate because everybody, to a man and to a woman, just have aspirations and dreams, and watching one of your friends accomplish their dreams and how proud you are of them. My best friend Josh does a lot of like music production stuff, and every time he posts something, it's just like so neat, right? And so I think that movies like this or stories like this just will always have a place in just the kind of general consciousness, just for that reason alone, because who hasn't sung into their hairbrush in the mirror or, apparently you have.
I have.
We need pictures of this.
Yeah, I promise by the end of this category, there will be photos, and there may even be music.
Claude Debussy 69 wants photos. Debussy. Yes. Claire de Lune. He was the. Excuse you?
Claire de Lune. That's what Debussy wrote.
Man, I listened to a bunch of Claude Debussy. I basically celebrate the guy's entire catalog.
You've never heard
fucking hack. He's he was an impressionist composer, but he strongly and vigorously
who do you do
back. What?
Who do you do impressions of? Like Beethoven?
You're such a fucking jerk.
Sorry. Anyway, one thing I will say. What did Debussy say?
That we want photos of you and your chaps or whatever it was, your leather chaps.
Chaps. I don't have any. I did not put the leather pants on, but I do have photos of that time. So we will get to that in a future episode. Okay. Don't want to go too far into that tonight because we got another movie to get into. Before we leave this movie, I want to say one thing is, for all its faults, like say a more of a kind of cliche type of plot line, if I want to name its positives, it is funny. It's got great performances. It's got really good direction because it doesn't take itself too seriously. So it has a really good aspect ratio of everything that goes on. The concert performances are very entertaining. And I think one of the reasons this movie is really well liked is people remember the music, they remember the vibe, and it doesn't get too dark, even though, he goes down the rabbit hole of drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll type thing. The character never really
embraces it.
He never kills a homeless guy or something like that.
Just to get an erection.
Yeah. So it never gets really, really dark. So it's pleasant, even though it has, those scenes in it. And I think that, you've got the vibe and you've got all of these things, you got the performances. It's a well-loved movie, and it's loved for those reasons because of music. Now, before we get into the next movie, I just got to share my favorite part is the ending of this, where he reunites with Timothy Olyphant. I don't think I saw this movie like in the early 2000s, but I forgot about this part. I literally fell off the couch laughing when they converted to Nirvana. I thought it was hilarious how they go from this hair metal band of the 80s to the sweaters and the grunge. I died, and it was such a pussy grunge song. It wasn't. It was so cheesy, and you could just see in the stills right here. And look at Mark Wahlberg's face; it's so sweet. I rewound it to watch it again. I was so in love with this part for the wrong reasons.
I liked when we catch up with lead singer guy, and now he's moved into traditional Irish folk dancing instead. Something I've always wanted to do.
It's a very fun movie, but I did love that. So we got one more to go. And again, the reason we're doing this is because we need 8 movies for the bracket, and there was too many to count. So one of these can get into the bracket. The other 2, sadly, will be eliminated tonight. So we have one more to go. And this one was recommended to me years ago by a friend who was like, if you like The Commitments, if you like this movie, you'll love this. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And I really fell in love with it. And when I was doing this, I'm like, it has to go in here somewhere because it's not as well known. you know, if you ask people, hey, have you ever seen Sing Street? They'll go, I don't, I've never,
Never heard of
maybe.
it.
And so that's a problem. So I couldn't really put it in there, but I'm like, hey, let's look at this with the other two, see what Eric thinks, see what I think, and see if it belongs in with these other films about fictional bands. And
was your friend right? Is there an equivalency to if you liked The Commitments, you like Sing Street? Did you like both?
yes,
Then I will probably like The Commitments.
Yes, what's funny is my wife knows The Commitments is one of my favorite films. I saw Alan Parker directed it, and it was done in the early 90s. I want to say 92, 89, maybe. I don't know. Maybe 89. Saw it in the theater, and man, I couldn't get enough of it. It was just, I loved the music. The music in The Commitments is 60s soul. So Aretha Franklin, James Brown, and it's this Irish group that does it. In Sing Street, the difference is it's 80s music.
Yeah,
new wave 80s. And you have this poor kid who, you talk about a movie, and I want to just look at this still for a second. You talk about a movie that talks about character development and character progression. You are going to be hard pressed to find a movie that does it as well as Sing Street, because this is our lead protagonist that forms the band in the very beginning. He was going to a private school. Was not in, his family's poor, but because of dire straits, they have to take him out of the private school where he's kind of been leading this sheltered life, and they put him in this the name of the school is the Sing Street School. It's SYNGE, Sing Street School, which is interesting enough. The writer, his dad and his uncle both went to the actual Sing Street School, and it's a Catholic school. And one of the things I do love about the opening sequence is when he's walking to school for the first time, and these kids are giving him the eye. They look like they're 40.
Yeah.
You can tell they're 8, 9 years old. They're looking like they're going to kill him.
It's a rough life
Crazy.
Out there on the streets of Birmingham or wherever the hell they were.
It's in Ireland.
Fucking Brummies. Oh. Well,
his life changes when he encounters this beauty at the girls' home across the way, and he is completely captivated by her, and she's too cool for the freaking room. It's so good. And so she wants nothing really to do with him until he mentions that he's in a band. He has a band because he picks up on the fact that
it is, Greg,
yeah,
the great equalizer.
It is
of all men. Because put me in a room with fucking Tyson Beckford. I don't know why that guy. It's just a guy I think is hot, apparently. And you know, the guy's gorgeous.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
But I'm in a fucking band. Pull up a picture of Tyson Beckford. Tell me that guy isn't like fucking fine as hell.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, you kicked it off by talking about the character development.
Yes.
And I agree with you. But it's not just that they developed the character.
Yeah.
It's the heart with which they did it. I'm
looking them up right now.
Fucking loved this movie so much. It reminded me of putting a band together. It reminded me of what it was like to get with a group of friends and start figuring out what you're going to figure out.
Yeah.
It's so fun. If I were to start a band today, it wouldn't be the same because it would just be a bunch of old or established musicians who just want to jam.
Yeah.
But back then, when you're trying to find, who do we know that plays bass? Do we know anybody that plays bass? How do we find a bass player?
It is a great dynamic. It is really good. I love the fact that he gets his friend that's just this little guy, and he's like, I'll be the manager. I don't have a single musical bone in my body, and the two of them set out to form a band to impress a girl.
Yep.
And And then the character, it does one of these really good things that these type of movies do. So we could call it cliched or not, but it builds the characters in such a way where you go house by house and you start meeting everybody that eventually becomes, part of the band. And you get to the friend who I just really absolutely love, the guy with the bunnies.
Yeah.
They go, and he knows how to play every single instrument. I think it was Brendan. I think that's who his name is. But yeah, he is outstanding. And they go to his house, and his mom is kind of annoyed because his dad's away, and he's not dealing with things well. He's in a rehab facility, so they're dealing with that, and his mom's just completely annoyed with life, and the kid needs a distraction, and he just takes these guys in, and he is like the genius with the music. And it's just an essential character. And then this dynamic forms with the three of them to build the rest of the band together. And it's just, yeah, you're right. If you haven't seen Sing Street, I will say this to everybody who listens to this show, I would watch it this weekend and you'll see what we're talking about. It's such an easy watch. It goes by so quickly. And the reason it does is the character development of everybody in the ensemble cast. And the way they build the band, the way they generate the interest in what these guys are doing, because it starts off as something that you're doing to impress a girl, and it becomes so much more.
This is an Irish film filmed in Birmingham or Ireland, one or the other.
Or Dublin. It could be Dublin.
And I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
for me, I'd never heard of any of these actors or seen them in anything else.
Oh yeah.
And I think that lent itself to me believing that what I was watching were the actual people.
Right.
I mean, I know I'm watching a movie, but it's not like you're watching Brad Pitt play the president of the United States. And he's not the president, and that's Brad Pitt. And it's hard to suspend reality enough to make that work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But in an ensemble cast where you don't know any of the actors, I don't know, there was just something really neat about how it all worked. The two guys, the bunny guy and our lead character, start to establish this Lennon McCartney songwriting duo.
Unbelievable.
A very clear, look into that. But it's all set around the Depeche Mode, Duran Duran, Yaz, type music, which I'm a fan of. So it was neat watching them write songs and then, execute them. The cute parts of the movie are, they're trying to film music videos, and obviously you have to do that on a budget, no budget.
Yeah. Amazing stuff.
And just how much it means to them as the movie progresses. It meant a lot. It started to mean something to me too.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know how it was going to end. I'm glad that it ends the way that it does, and not with, spoiler alert, these guys signing a record contract and going on a world tour.
Yeah.
I like that it's a realistic story about. Remember when we watched Slapshot and we said that it was really less about hockey than it is about kind of that time in the Rust Belt? We talked about the atmosphere that surrounded it.
Yeah.
And I love that this movie is built around building a band, but it's more than that. It was it's what childhood is, and it's figuring out what you are and who you are. And man, I'm getting emotional.
It is. Yeah, it is. Watching it again, and my wife watched it for the first time with me because I think she was out of town when I watched it, and I told her about it, but I just watched it. So I was like, yeah, we're watching this for the movie, and she absolutely adored it. We were both getting emotional watching the film because it is an emotional film, but in the good way.
Yeah.
It's not gut-wrenchingly depressing. It's emotionally uplifting in so many ways. Like, if you've not seen this film, I can't recommend it enough. And this scene here, it typifies what you're talking about being a child. They get the band together, and then they have to make this music video. And of course, they lure Rafina, the girl, into being in the music video, and they're doing it kind of like Duran Duran, which is kind of like the inspiration. So they all get dressed up and they have makeup, and the one kid's like, he gets his video camera out, and it's just like when you were a kid and you were doing this kind of stuff and pretending, but they're actually doing it. And yeah, it starts off this progression. It starts off of this slow build of how they just continue to get better and better. And I don't want to give too much away for those who haven't seen it, but it is so much more. It's about the music, but it's about so much more than that. It's about the relationships. It's about finding somebody that you have so much in common with that they become part of your family. The bonds that form between these kids all are centered around music that helps them get out of the poverty that they're experiencing in Dublin, helps them to overcome the kind of brutality of the school that they're in.
Yeah.
The atmosphere. It is so outstanding. And the music is great. We hadn't even talked about the music.
The music is so good.
Are so catchy. And you mentioned Eamon, who is the friend that we showed a picture of earlier, that his kind of like, he knows how to play guitar. I love the scene where he's demonstrating for them all the instruments he can play, and he just goes from one instrument to another, and he's hilarious. But there's a scene that, of course, I'm glad you picked up on the Lennon-McCartney, because it does show so many scenes of the two of them. And I turned to my wife and I said, you realize that this is what Lennon-McCartney did? They sat up in their rooms when they were kids and wrote these songs together, and they bounced ideas off of one another. And you see these two lads do that. And then one of my favorite scenes is when the kid's all full of emotion over Rafina. He's trying to deal with the way he feels about her, and he goes to Eamon's house. Connor goes to Eamon's house, and he opens the door, and he's like, yeah, what do you want? He goes, I think I want to write a song. Do you have time to do that with me? He says, always.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it just hits you. You're just like, it's just beautiful. Yeah.
Using kids as, the characters, it's a whole nother dimension, right? Of you watch them in real time throughout, over the course of the time within the movie, like figuring out who they are. Yeah. Watching them build confidence, finding their place in, like you said, a really rough and rugged environment, and how do I fit in there? And it's one of the greatest joys of your life is when you figure out where you fit. Who are your people? Who's your person? And people wait a long time to figure out who that is, and multiple stops and starts along the way, and just all of the, bullshit that goes into getting to where you deserve to be, where you ought to be. And using these kids, using music as a backdrop, like I was completely taken by this movie.
Yeah, it's unique into that aspect. I love the series. And what is so great about the movie is how they keep experimenting with their look until they end up settling on the look. And again, don't want to give away too much, but they end up playing the school dance, and it's almost like they've almost perfected themselves at this point. The school dance scene is kind of that crescendo of the movie, and it's just brilliant. But there's other God, I could gush about this movie for at least an hour, and I don't want to do that. But there's so many moments that it has. The scene where he is picturing in his mind of how the school dance is going to go, and how they're all dressed in fine suits, and he wants it to be like a Billy Joel 50s video, like Uptown Girl, and then they do it as a music video. And in his vision, his mom and dad, who are getting a divorce or reunited, his brother, who is, again, we haven't even talked about his brother. Oh my God, what a character his brother is in the film, and so essential to the themes of the film. So his brother who is kind of always wanted that life. He's gone to college and dropped out, and he's living at home, and he doesn't have anything really that he can claim, and he lives up in his bedroom with all of his vinyl records, kind of, reliving his glory days. And what he's doing is kind of trying to pass that on to Connor. And God, what a great character. The family itself, the dynamic of what they're going through is so natural compared to other films where it kind of could feel forced and fake. The conflict between the husband and wife, the daughter who's trying to fit into her place in the family. It's just brilliant. And I love his brother, who has these nuggets of wisdom through the whole film, who keeps encouraging his little brother to do this. He's kind of given him the inspiration. I love when he quotes his brother on music to other people to sound intelligent, but he got that from his bro. And it's just, there's so many things. There's so many scenes that they do so well. And again, I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, there's the brother part. There's the school bully who you realize, like, most bullies are, and especially like most bullies are in cinema, are, conflicted, tortured people at home who can't help but take it out on those that they perceive to be weaker. And I mean, it's just, there are so many, there's this main story, but there's these little tangents, these little pieces that kind of stick to it, that not only are interesting and not only are heartfelt, but make this movie feel like it's a actual documentary as opposed to a biopic.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because life is in the details. Life, we all live.
You said biopic
on purpose, jerk off.
I was like, wait a minute, did I rub off on him?
Did you what?
I knew as soon as that word left my mouth, as soon as I said that.
You want to do what? You can visit my OnlyFans.
If I need to rub off on you, okay.
Man, I can't start an OnlyFans at this point in my life. It's like, what if I end up being like too good at it?
Then you make money.
I know, but then I just got to spend all day showing people my butthole. I feel like doing that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say about the bully. He is a problem. But so here's the thing: is if you watch this movie and you see this guy, he's tormenting Connor, the main character, and some of the other characters. He is a problem that they have to deal with, and the way he's dealt with is not cliched at all. I was waiting for the cliched part when I first watched the movie, where he was going to destroy all their instruments and burn down the music tent or whatever. He was going to do something drastic that they would have to overcome. And it's not the way you think how they deal with this guy. And it's refreshing to see it, because they do take a lot of these cliches. They do take these tropes and then they stand them on their head. So you get the kind of cliched moment, but then it spins into how things really would work out in a real life situation, like you said, where it seems more realistic.
It's interesting that that's where you went with that, because I kept thinking we were about to get a George McFly, Biff Tannen moment, and we don't get that either.
No. The way they deal with him is totally different. It was just some other images of the band as they progress in their style and just everything. And the love story is amazing. I don't want to go too deep into everything about the film, because I really mean this when I say it. If you haven't seen Sing Street, I'm not going to give away too much more, other than it is a joy to watch. There's so many things. I will say this, is that in the love story, there are so many beautiful moments that it's not cliched at all. They do such a great job. The scene on the train when he's I just get emotional.
Okay, do it. Get emotional.
All these things. It's a beautifully. I had to put these 3 images in like this because this is how the movie works.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's sitting on the train and everybody's talking and he's just looking at her, and she looks over and notices him and smiles, and it's like it just gets you. They do such an amazing job with the direction of this film to say things without saying anything, and it's never boring. It's always uplifting, and it just has this captivating quality about it that I can't say enough. Again,
yeah, this is one of the better films that I've seen in a while. I'm really happy. I mean, I didn't have a bad time watching any of these. Not like watching that Elvis movie where he races cars.
Okay, let's not bring that up anymore. That's enough of that.
But yeah, this one just, I mean, this is why people started writing stories thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
It's why people wrote operas and arias to communicate feelings like this. You know, I mean, you're challenging people to go watch the movie. When you do, I challenge you to find some part of this movie that isn't universal as far as it doesn't matter that it's set in Ireland or that it's set in, again, another fish out of water where someone who's used to going to a prestigious school has to go to well, I think they call them private schools over there, even though they're what we would consider public schools.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is. But you don't have to have grown up in that, because whether you grew up in Plano, Texas, like I did, or you grew up in Lithuania, wherever you grew up trying to figure out who you are. And you grew up trying to figure out, what am I good at? And it's a challenge sometimes, right? Because what you're really good at, like I wasn't very good at sports, but I wanted Greg to be so good at sports because all of the popular guys played sports. Right. And I happened to be tall, so I could play basketball, but I wasn't any good at basketball. And it wasn't until much later that my brother got a guitar, and then I started playing guitar, and that became this lifelong, hobby and, something I've been able to enjoy. But I wouldn't have known that when I was a little kid, and I wouldn't know that until I was 17. And so I spent, quite a few years in elementary school and middle school, just like, where do I fit in? And when I picked up a guitar and when I started playing songs with my brother and going to Guitar Center and buying guitar books and learning and rehearsing and practicing, is when I finally just like knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. Maybe not for a career, maybe not forever, but for the first time I felt like I was doing something I wanted to be doing, that I loved, as opposed to playing basketball because I thought if I was good at basketball, maybe I might be popular. I mean, I'd have been about as popular as Screech was in Saved by the Bell, right? But but popular nonetheless, at least in that group.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter where you grew up. You just want to know where you're supposed to be at.
Right.
And, sometimes you get my age and you're still not,
Well, the first time I showed my butthole, I knew I needed to have an OnlyFans. And so that's where I figured out what I needed.
I mean, you're a natural.
I am. That's what everybody says. Try to keep it bleached regularly. Yeah. The one thing I will say is that going back to this, and it's right. It could be about music. It could be anything, the story. It could have been their writers. They could be, but they use music in this context, and it works wonderfully because, like we said before, the songs are outrageously good for what you would think in this type of thing. They're very heavily 80s, but they're so melodic. They're heartfelt at times. I do love the scene, again, breaking the tropes, and I hate to give spoilers away because it's such a great film. But when he goes to sing the ballad and everybody leaves, it happen in a movie. They're supposed to be like Purple Rain. They're supposed to stand there and hold their lighters up. And then he finishes the song that means so much to him, and he goes, "You can all come back now. That's the best one." That is so, just so good. It's just amazing. But I want to look at this still right here for those who just listen to us and they don't get to see the live stream. Trust me, watch the film. But you look at what you saw at the beginning of when we showed the still of Connor, and then you see him here performing near the end of the film. And it's just a transformation of all of these characters in the band, how they grow up through this experience. It's just done right. It's just like when you watch a film like this, you basically you wonder why all films aren't like this. You go, this is just, I mean, it has so many aspects of what you want to see in likable characters, and they do go through harrowing situations, but it takes a very optimistic view on making the most out of your life and whatever circumstances that you're in, and how you can achieve these things with the love of friends, and they become your family, and that's how life should work, and they do it so well. And I'm just going to leave this last still up of the group. It's out just amazing. I did want to say something about the connection to the Commitments, because we will have the Commitments eventually on this. There's some interesting things. The mother in the band, the mother of Connor in the movie, the one that's getting the divorce, which again, there's a scene I just mentioned briefly where the brothers are sitting on the steps and watching their mom sit on the stoop and look at a magazine of Spain, because she's never going to get to go there. And she's smoking a cigarette and drinking a glass of wine and dreaming. It's a very powerful scene. But the mom is one of the girls in the Commitments, so you have that connection. Most of the songs were written by an artist by the name of Glenn Hansard. He was also in the Commitments. He's Irish. He was in a movie called Once. If you've never seen it, again, I recommend that one. That's a very good film. He's also in another band. Trying to think of the band he's in, but he's a really accomplished musician, and he wrote the songs for it. So they have a connection to the Commitments. The author and director, John Carney, explicitly stated in an interview that no homage to the Commitments was actually intended. This was based on his person, growing up, and it had more to do with his getting into the arts as a film student, but he based this on music instead, and that completely works. There's the character in the Commitments named Jimmy Rabbit, and they've said, well, what about the rabbits? That's the connection. He's like, that was completely just the character of Eamon. They wanted him to have a hobby, and his hobby is rabbits. So it wasn't ever intended. But when you see the Commitments, I will tell you right now, when we watch the Commitments down the line on this, you will notice striking similarities that may not be intended, but are very similar, but just equally as good. Commitments is very similar to this.
I'll be excited to watch that. I probably go back and look at John Carney's other work. I know he did that Begin Again movie with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. And I don't know. It's either Keira Knightley or the other one, Natalie Portman.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think it was.
Those might be the same person.
Yeah.
But anyway,
those might be the same person.
They're very similar. But yeah, I mean, everything you said about the film and more. And I was totally fucking bullshitting at the top of the show when I said I didn't know what I was going to vote for, because there was you know,
Yeah.
these three movies exist in the world and only one can exist after today.
Yeah.
Then I know which one, will make the cut for me.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, are you ready to vote? Do we even
definitely
need
ready
to?
vote. I do want to say first, it is Keira Knightley.
Okay.
So Mike Sir Mike Flores said it's Nicole Portman.
Perfect.
So that works. But yeah, John Carney directed that. He also directed that movie I just mentioned once with Glenn Hansard, who's in The Commitments. So again, yeah, I'd say once, if you've never seen that, is another musical type film. I would he wrote that. He was the writer of Once, which is a great film. So I would recommend that as well. That's one of my favorite musical films, but it didn't make the fake band cut because it's not really, it's kind of like a fake band, but it's really just a singing duo that sing on the street in Once. So yes, I think it's an easy vote. I think we're on the same page. I kind of knew where I was going in. I think, my wife actually watched all three movies with me, and she said, there's no way you're voting against Sing Street, are you? Because these other ones are really good. Rockstar is very well loved, and it did win our fan vote. But I think the main reason Rockstar won our fan vote is because people have not seen Sing Street. And if we do anything on the show, it's to wave the Sing Street banner. So I'm assuming you're voting for Sing Street as well.
Absolutely. There's no question. I mean, I watched Sing Street first, and I think I knew then I was going to be voting for it. Movies that make you feel the way that movie made me feel are not a dime a dozen. And like you said, it's the reason people do this as an art form.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could go on. Well, I guess we'll get the chance to go on and on about this because we will talk about it again.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, that's what we're going to do in a couple of weeks. We are going to go. This is going to be interesting, I think.
Man,
we are going to go right into the bracket now. We're going to keep going, and Sing Street is going to be up against This Is Spinal Tap in the first round.
Okay.
And that's going to be our first matchup. So all we have to do is watch This Is Spinal Tap over the next 2 weeks.
I think we can do it.
And I just watched the sequel to Spinal Tap, and I love Spinal Tap. It's going to be tough for me to I may watch Sing Street again, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed it that much. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. I think what we'll have to do with this one, this is probably going to be our toughest battle, because we'll have to watch Spinal Tap over again. It is a brilliant film, so we'll have to watch it over again. But I think we really have to pick these both apart and see, as far as this category, fake movie bands, which one is really the best fake movie band.
Yeah. I mean, the category plays a role in it, right?
Yeah, it does. So that's going to be our next episode, Tuesday, the 30th of September. Wow. Well, we got through it, and we did it under 2 hours.
I mean, look at that.
I'm proud of. We did 3 movies.
Total pro.
In under 2 hours. So that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and we talked about my OnlyFans and how you pronounce the word biopic incorrectly.
I like biopic.
So we all fit. No, that sounds like a medical, like something.
I know. I like it.
Okay.
Now that I think of it, I'm not going to do it again. Maybe. We'll see.
All right.
That I've enjoyed saying it. It's like nails on a chalkboard, and I get pleasure from doing that to people. I also get pleasure of doing this show for everybody out there. So thank you for tuning in. Again, our email, boxofficebattles@gmail.com. Our Twitch is Box Office Battle Pod, and our YouTube is at Box Office Battle Podcast. Check out our Facebook. Go on there and subscribe. And also you can catch us on all the major podcast providers, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. So with that being said, we'll see you guys on the 30th of September for Spinal Tap versus Sing Street, the winner tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric for his final words of the evening.
Until next time, you guys remember to be excellent to each other. We'll talk to you later on.
See you guys. Have a wonderful next couple of weeks. and I'll say, "Go blue and go birds." And biopic.
Hi, I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle.
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm a nerd.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
I have never seen anything like this.
The worst part has been the actual watching of the movie.
Some of these were pretty terrible.